Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining our first Domestic Violence Awareness Month workshop. My name is Alyssa Jordan. I am the Community Relations Coordinator here at Quigley House, and I am joined by Miss Annie, and she's going to go through some grocery shopping on a budget and things like that, and she's going to explain a little bit more about that. So I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to her to go ahead and get started.
Thank you, Alyssa. Thank you for having me here. I'm Annie Vallau. I'm with the University of Florida IFAS Extension here in Clay County, and I'm happy to bring this workshop to you all, Healthy Eating on a Budget, a virtual grocery store tour. So if it's okay, I'll go ahead and start sharing my PowerPoint.
Yeah, of course.
With you all, and we'll go ahead and get started. So I hope you all can see the slides now. So I like to start talking with you all about my plate and the basics of eating healthy and creating a balanced meal. So my plate gives us the recommendations for building a healthy plate. You can see that half of our plate focuses on fruits and vegetables, while we have a little over a quarter of our plate focusing on whole grains and a little less than a quarter of our plate on protein. And then again, we also have the dairy group up at the top, which the main message is to move to low fat or fat-free milk and yogurt. And we're going to talk about each one of these food groups in more detail as we go through the presentation. So thinking about your grocery store, whether you shop at Publix, Winn-Dixie, Walmart, a local mom and pop grocery store, most grocery stores are set up the same, with the perimeter of the grocery store offering the healthiest options. So when you visualize the grocery store that you shop at, most likely things like fresh fruits and vegetables, your deli counter, your fresh meats and seafood, your dairy department, your frozen fruits and vegetables, and fresh breads are along the perimeter of the grocery store. While down the center aisles, you'll find more of your processed typed items. So you can find other great options down these aisles as well. So things such as whole grain cereals, things like peanut butter, canned beans and peas. So we'll talk a little bit more about the benefits of purchasing fresh, frozen, or canned fruits and vegetables as well. But really, if you can focus that shopping on the perimeter of the grocery store, you'll be able to find some of the healthiest items. Another important thing to think about before you go to the grocery store is checking your grocery store circulars. So these usually come out each week, and you can either find them in your newspaper or you may receive them in the mail. And most grocery stores offer these online as well. So I always like to recommend to check in to see what's on sale that week. You may be able to do some meal planning around options that are on sale and take advantage of some of those buy one, get one free deals. Or other items that are on sale. But just remember, just because it's on sale doesn't necessarily mean that you need to buy it. A lot of times we end up getting caught up in these great deals, and then we put them in our pantry or our refrigerator and forget about them and let them spoil. So let's really focus on buying the things that we need within that shopping time frame, whether you go shopping once a week or once a month, so we don't let things go to waste. So our first department we're going to talk about is the produce department, and the main message here is to focus on whole fruits and vary your veggies. So let's talk a little bit, as I mentioned, about the pros and cons of purchasing fresh, frozen, and canned fruits and vegetables. So as you can see with fresh, you're going to be able to find a greater variety of fruits and vegetables and actually be able to see them and touch them and smell them before purchasing and select the ones that look like they're the freshest and don't have any bruises or issues. If you're purchasing fresh fruits and vegetables when they're in season, that means they can cost a lot less than other forms of fruits or vegetables. So if you think about strawberries, for example, here in Florida, we have lots of strawberries. And when they're in season, you can find a little carton of strawberries for as low as even 99 cents before that I've seen at Aldi. But if you think about it in non-strawberry season, sometimes they're like $6 a carton, and they're probably coming from farther away, such as California. So that may be a better time to buy it frozen. Your cons of fresh fruits and vegetables is they must be used quickly because they are perishable. So it's important to learn about the ripeness and proper storage of them. And as I mentioned, if they're not in season, they can be more expensive. With our frozen fruits and vegetables, they're usually frozen at peak freshness, so meaning right when they're ripe and ready to be eaten. And a lot of times they can cost less money than fresh. They have a long shelf life. Usually they can stay 6 to 12 months in the freezer, and little prep is required. If you think about a lot of options with the frozen vegetables these days, they come in a steam in the bag pouch where you can just throw them in the microwave and they're ready to be consumed. And also all of those frozen fruits and vegetables are available year round. You do have to be careful when selecting frozen fruits and vegetables because they may have added sodium, sugar, or fat. And we'll talk a little bit more about how to look at the label to identify those. And also the texture can change with the freezing process. So if you think about fresh broccoli versus frozen broccoli, when you cook that, you can definitely tell a difference where the frozen broccoli is a little bit more mushy. But that definitely does not affect the nutritional content. For our canned fruits and vegetables, again, just like frozen, they are processed and canned at peak freshness, and they a lot of times are more affordable. They have a very long shelf life and are very easy to prepare, and also always available. But just like I mentioned with frozen, can have a lot of added sugar, sodium, and fat. So we need to make sure we look at the label and make the best choices around there. And then also the texture can change as well with the canning process. So here's a comparison of carrots. We have fresh carrots, frozen carrots, and canned carrots. So say you needed to use some carrots in a recipe and you're trying to figure out what was the best option as far as price goes. So an easy way to do that is to look at the unit price. So the unit price is found in the orange box, and that tells you how much that product costs per pound. So you'll see our fresh carrots are $1.49 per pound. Our frozen ones are 96 cents per pound, and our canned are $1.28 per pound. So in this scenario, our frozen carrots would be the cheapest option. As I mentioned, looking at seasonal produce to save money on the options that are in season is very important. And I know this slide is going to be a little bit small for you, but I'm happy to share the resource on the website you could go to find this information from the Florida Department of Agriculture. But this is a very nice seasonal availability calendar from the state of Florida. So you can find the month that we're in. So currently we're in October, and everything that's in the dark green is currently in season. So right now, your avocados, cucumbers, grapefruit, mushrooms, oranges, spinach, sweet corn, tangerines, and tomatoes are in season. So hopefully you would be able to get those for a very low cost in the grocery store. So as I mentioned, it's important to look at the ingredients on frozen and canned products to look at that fat, sodium, and sugar that may be added to the product. You can also look at the ingredients list as well to identify some of these things. So in our example over here on the left, we have canned peaches in syrup, and you can see the ingredients here are peaches, water, corn syrup, and sugar. So we know that there has been some sugar added to that product. So that may be when it's better to find either canned peaches in 100% fruit juice or to buy fresh or frozen peaches if you're looking to decrease some of that added sugar in your diet. The middle example is canned carrots with salt. And as you can see down here on the ingredients list, salt is one of the ingredients. So salt has been added to the product, and there's about 370 milligrams of sodium. So if you're watching your sodium in your diet, you would want to look for canned carrots with no salt added, or maybe frozen carrots that don't have any salt added, or fresh and add your own salt. And then in our example over here with frozen mixed vegetables and teriyaki sauce, well, we know that it's in a sauce, so it probably has some added things to it. And down here in the ingredients list, you can see that sugar has been added, salt has been added. So if you're looking to decrease some of that sugar and salt, again, you may want to just buy plain frozen mixed vegetables and add your own sauce to it. So our sodium recommendations are to consume less than 2,300 milligrams of sodium per day. You can see here highlighted in yellow on this example of this nutrition facts panel, you can see where to find sodium. So this product, one serving of this product has 700 milligrams of sodium, which is about 30% of the sodium that we need in one day. So that means if we ate 3.5 servings of this product, we would have already met our sodium requirements for the entire day. And this may not be important for everyone, but a lot of people like to look at the amount of added sodium in their diet. So here's another example of looking at purchasing the cheapest form of produce with this example of fresh peaches, frozen peaches, and canned peaches. So again, we'll look at that unit price, the price in the orange square. So our fresh peaches are $2.99 per pound. Our frozen peaches are $2.75 per pound. And our canned peaches, which are in 100% juice, are $2.08 per pound. So in this example, our canned are the best option. And most grocery stores will have this unit price right beside the price tag on the shelf. Another option for saving money on produce is buying in bulk. So a lot of times if you buy a larger package, you can get a better deal. But as I mentioned before, sometimes we fall into this trap of getting the better deal and then letting it spoil in our refrigerator. So really consider if it's something that you're going to eat a lot of, or if you have the extra time to maybe slice it and put it in the freezer to save for a later use. So this example is our fresh carrots, and you can see the 5-pound package is only 70 cents per pound versus the 1-pound package that's $1.49 per pound. So you really can save a lot of money, but if it's going to go to waste, you're not saving any money in the long run. So moving on to our grains department, the recommendation is to make half of your grains whole grains. And just a little bit about whole grains and why it's important in our diet. So whole grains mean that the product contains the whole grain kernel, whether that's oats or wheat, whichever type grain it is. It means that the product is using the whole kernel that includes the bran, the endosperm, and the germ. People who eat whole grains as part of a healthy diet have reduced risk of some chronic diseases, including stroke, type 2 diabetes, heart disease, obesity, and colorectal cancer. So what grain products can we buy that are whole grain? I'm going to teach you how to find that on the label. So your first way to identifying if a product is whole grain is to go straight to the ingredients list on the back side of the package. So in this example, we have whole wheat tortillas and whole wheat pasta. Here on the left with whole wheat tortillas, you can look at the ingredients and you see here that the first ingredient says whole wheat flour. So that means that it is a whole grain product. In order for it to be a whole grain product, that first ingredient has to have the word whole and then whichever type of grain. So in the whole wheat pasta example here on the right, you can see that the ingredients are durum whole wheat flour. So again, that is a whole wheat product, a whole grain product. So you want to really go first to that ingredients list and look for the word whole as the first ingredient. So whole grains provide us with fiber in our diet, and a high fiber diet has many benefits, which includes helping to normalize bowel movements, helping to maintain our bowel health, lowering cholesterol levels, controlling our blood sugar levels, and also helping achieve a healthy weight. The recommendation for fiber each day for women is about 25 grams, and for men, 38 grams. So let's talk a little bit more about bread. So not all brown breads are whole grains. A lot of times we can get confused just by the color of the bread and the different types of seeds and things that they put on top of the bread. Manufacturers do this to fool us into believing that the product is healthier or that it's a whole grain product. So really you have to go back to that trick that I taught you just a few minutes ago, looking at that ingredients list and looking for the word whole in the first ingredient. So you can see here on the left, the oat bran bread. If we look at the ingredients list, the first ingredient is unbleached enriched wheat flour. Does that have the word whole in it? Nope. So that means that this is not a whole grain bread. Whereas the example here on the right, the first ingredient is whole wheat flour. So we know for sure that that product is a whole grain product. Something important to think about when it comes to bread is the serving size as well. Breads come in different loaf sizes and different slice sizes. So you want to look and see what a serving of that product is. So in the example here on the left, a serving size, you can see at the top up here right underneath nutrition facts, serving size is 1 slice, and that 1 slice has 100 calories. On the example here on our right side, the serving size is 2 slices, and 2 slices provides 90 calories. So actually, if you were to choose this bread here on the right side, you would be able to eat 2 slices for the same amount of calories, actually a little less than just 1 slice of the other bread. So both of these are whole grain products and both great options. But if you're looking at watching how many calories you're eating each day and you want to have a sandwich, just by choosing the smaller slices, this type over here on the right, you would actually be able to save about 100 calories and still have your sandwich. All right, let's talk a little bit about cereal and oatmeal. So again, we want to look at our ingredients list to identify if our cereal is a whole grain product or not. A lot of times cereal companies make a lot of claims on the front of the package. So you can see here on with the Cheerios, it says with whole grain as first ingredient. So now we know that yes, that's most likely, as long as we check the ingredients and confirm that that's a whole grain cereal. But over here on the Fruit Loops, you can see it. They make a claim saying it's a good source of fiber and it's made with whole grains, which initially may make you believe that it's a whole grain product. But let's look at the ingredients list. So on our Cheerios here on the left, ingredients, first ingredient, whole grain oats. So yes, absolutely, that is a whole grain cereal. But if we look at our Fruit Loops here on the right, our first ingredient is sugar. And our second ingredient is corn flour blend. So no, our first ingredient is not a whole grain product. So this does not count as a serving of whole grains in your diet. Also, cereals tend to have a lot of added sugar. And something that they recently added to the nutrition facts label, which is very nice and makes it easy to find, is this new line under total sugars. It says included 10 grams of added sugars. So we know just from this that they've added 10 grams of sugar to this product. So if you're trying to decrease the amount of sugar in your diet, you may want to compare the labels of your favorite cereals and find the one that has the least amount of sugars or the least amount of added sugars. You want to consume less than 10% of your calories each day from sugar. So here's a quick example of just comparing 3 different cereals, looking at their fiber and sugar content. All 3 of these are whole grain cereals, so all great options, but say you wanted to find one with higher fiber and lower sugar. Let's see which one would be the best option. So here on the left, we have Raisin Bran. If you come down here, you can see that there's 7 grams of dietary fiber, which is very good, about 28% of our fiber needs each day, and 18 grams of sugar, which that's pretty high amount of sugar. Compared to the plain oatmeal here in the middle, we have 4 grams of fiber, which was a little bit lower than the Raisin Bran, but only 1 gram of sugar. And then on the right are frosted mini wheats with about 6 grams of fiber, so higher than the oatmeal, but still a little bit lower than the Raisin Bran, and then 11 grams of sugar. So you may want to make this comparison between different cereals that you like to find the right balance for you. Moving on to the dairy section, our recommendation is to move to low-fat or fat-free milk, yogurt, cheese, and or fortified soy beverages instead of dairy milk. So our calcium recommendations are 1,000 milligrams per day. And we recommend choosing low-fat dairy products. This is because dairy products tend to have a lot of saturated fat. And saturated fat is the type of fat that can cause blockages in our veins and arteries and lead to heart disease or stroke. So we really want to watch the amount of saturated fat in our diets each day. So We have a comparison here of our fat-free milk, 1% milk, 2% milk, and whole milk, and the different amount of fat in each one. So you can see in our fat-free milk here on the left, the yellow one, come down to total fat, and just as the name says, there's 0 grams of fat. In our blue 1% low-fat milk, we have 3 grams of total fat. In our green label 2% milk, we have 5 grams of total fat. And in the whole milk, the red label, 8 grams of total fat. So the recommendation is to choose this 1% low-fat milk or fat-free milk. And that's for everyone over the age of 2. Again, talking about buying in bulk, with milk, you can tend to get a lot more for your money if you're able to purchase and consume a full gallon size. We can look at the cost comparison here where 1 gallon of milk is $3.79 per gallon. But as you go to the smaller container size, the unit price really goes up a lot. So our half gallon is at $6.40 per gallon. Our quart is at $7.30 per gallon. And if you were to buy this little pint size, you would technically be paying $14.08 per gallon. So you can see, especially with milk, it really pays off to buy the larger full gallon size. Milk can also have added sugar when you're looking at flavored milks. And even though both of these options are fat-free, meaning they don't have any fat, this chocolate milk still has a lot of added sugar due to the chocolate milk or the chocolate cocoa powder and sugar being added to the product. So you can see where this regular fat-free milk over here on the left has 12 grams of sugar because milk does naturally have sugar in it. The chocolate milk has 22 grams of sugar. So just be careful when you're purchasing flavored milks that some of them tend to have a lot of added sugar. You may be able to find one that has a little bit less by comparing the labels. Okay, moving on to yogurt. What is the difference between Greek versus regular yogurt? So I get this question a lot. Essentially, Greek yogurt is a little bit more strained, so meaning they remove extra liquid from the yogurt and they add some additional healthy bacteria to the yogurt making process, making Greek yogurt a little bit lower in calories and a lot higher in protein. So you can see here the Greek yogurt has 23 grams of protein, where regular yogurt has 14 grams of protein. But both of these are great options as long as you're looking for the low-fat options with less sugar added. So choosing yogurt with less sugar is very important. Yogurt is a very confusing department in the grocery store because there are so many options. But I really encourage you to take a look on the nutrition facts label on the back and compare the sugar in the different types of yogurts that you may be considering to purchase. So here our example on the left, the plain Greek yogurt has 7 grams of sugar. 7 grams of sugar, which are naturally found in the product, nothing being added to that product. The middle example, the cookies and cream yogurt has 24 grams of sugar. And believe it or not, the raspberry fruit on the bottom yogurt has even more sugar, 26 grams of sugar. So it's really important to flip those products over and compare the different amounts of sugar added. You can always, if you like a fruit yogurt and you can't find one that's low in sugar, considering buying a low-fat plain yogurt and adding your own fruit or adding your own honey and granola, different things to make it have a very good taste but not as much sugar. Protein. So when we're talking about protein, we want to vary our protein routine throughout the week. Protein recommendations for someone who's around 150 pounds, we should be consuming 54 grams of protein per day. And you can see here the calculation to determine how many grams of protein per day, but I wouldn't really focus on this. The main message with protein is trying to vary the different types of protein that you get. So doing a combination of red meat, poultry, and fish throughout the week. So as I mentioned, including things such as seafood, 8 ounces per week. Lean meats, so that means lower fat meats that have the skin removed or some of the excess fat removed. Poultry, eggs, legumes, which are our dry or canned beans and peas, nuts and seeds, and also soy products. So how do we choose a low-fat protein option? So we want to go look at the can on the nutrition facts label on either your canned beans or your tuna, or either the nutrition facts panel on your different meats or fish that you look at. And you can see in this comparison, the black beans here have about 7 grams of protein per serving. The tilapia has about 22 grams of protein per serving. And the albacore tuna has about 14 grams of protein per serving, while all of them are very low in fat. So these are all great options to incorporate throughout the week to vary your protein routine. Another way you can save a lot of saturated fat in your diet is by considering moving to a lower fat ground beef. We as Americans consume a lot of ground beef. This is one of the most popular meat products to purchase in the grocery store. And just by moving from an 80% lean, which means it's 20% fat, down to a 93% lean, which is 7% fat, can save you a lot of calories and a lot of saturated fat in the diet. So you can see over here on the left, this 80% lean, 20% fat ground beef has about 23 grams of fat in a serving, a 4-ounce serving, while our lean example over here on the right, the 93% lean, has only 8 grams of total fat per serving. And then in the middle, we have 85% lean, and that's about 17 grams of fat per serving. So by choosing the more lean option, you could definitely save a lot of fat and calories in your diet. Also, I hear a lot of people say they don't purchase the lean ground beef because it's a lot more expensive per pound. And that's true. It does normally cost more money per pound. But when you cook 1 pound of lean ground beef compared to the 1 pound of 80% lean, 20% fat ground beef, once that fat melts away, the one that has 20% fat in it, you're actually left with less meat. So you're actually getting more for your money after the cooking process, because with the lean ground beef, you're left with more actual edible ground beef after it's cooked. Another great way to save money on lean meats is to consider purchasing ground turkey instead of ground beef. Ground turkey provides the same amount of fat in the diet as the lean ground beef, but can be a lot cheaper per pound. So you see in this example, the ground beef is $6.39 per pound, where the ground turkey is $3.84 per pound. So let's talk a little bit about fats and oils and the recommendation to shift from solid fats to oils. So as I mentioned, saturated fats are something that we want to limit in our diet, and that we should consume less than 10% of our calories per day from saturated fats. So that means that less than 200 calories per day should be from saturated fats. Saturated fats or solid fats come from beef, pork, and chicken fat, butter, cream, and milk fat, things like steak margarine and shortening, lard, coconut oil, palm kernel oil, hydrogenated oils, and partially hydrogenated oils. And an example I like to give for this for people to visualize is, say you cook bacon on the stove and you take the bacon out of the pan and you leave the pan there to cool. What happens to the bacon fat? It turns to a solid, right? So thinking about those types of fats, such as pork fat that turns to a solid, those are the ones that I mentioned before that are going to turn to solids inside of our veins and arteries and put us at increased risk of heart disease. So we really want to think about transitioning from some of those saturated fats to healthier unsaturated fats. And our examples of unsaturated fats are olive oil, canola oil, corn oil, peanut oil, safflower oil, and sunflower oil. And actually, canola oil is a very affordable option. So if you're using oil in your recipes, if you're baking, kind of think about switching out some of that butter or margarine in the recipe for canola oil. And olive oil is also an excellent option as well. But a lot of people say they don't like the taste of olive oil, and that's because many people will go to the grocery store and buy the extra virgin olive oil, which is the healthiest option when it comes to olive oil. But if you look deeper into the label, you'll see that it says use straight from the bottle on salads, pastas, marinades, soups, or sauces, or make a delicious dip. So meaning that this olive oil is not necessarily meant to be cooked with. If you like to cook with your olive oil, choose the light olive oil, which is a great substitute for butter shortening or other vegetable oils, and is even ideal for higher heat cooking, such as frying and sauteing. So what happens, a lot of people buy this extra virgin olive oil that's not really meant to get super hot, and then they cook with it, and that changes the flavor of the oil, and they don't like it. So if you haven't tried the light olive oil and you want to use it for cooking, I definitely encourage looking for that or for canola oil. So I hope you learned a little bit more today about how to navigate the grocery store and choose some healthier options on a budget using some of the things we talked about today. And if you ever would like any other additional resources, please don't hesitate to contact me. My email address is aasheldon@ufl.edu, or you can give me a call here at the office at 904-284-6355. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Annie, for going through that. And even I learned some stuff and I was like, oh, okay, that makes more sense. So thank you so much. And I will definitely put your contact information in the video description as well. And yeah, if anybody has any questions or anybody needs anything else, you can go ahead and reach out to Annie. And hopefully you learned some stuff from this video and you attend our workshop next week about budgeting essentials or basics. So we look forward to learning more about that as well. But thank you so much, Annie.